Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the McGonagall Boxing Podcast. Obviously the dust has settled on Bivol. Now, I'm getting a lot of different opinions on this fight. I've kind of taken my time to analyse it, watched it a couple of times. Close fight. I had Bivol winning 7-5. I think he got up to a sustainable lead, and I think the corner with Beterbiev was quite right in what they were saying. And you heard them, didn't you? Almost desperation after round 10. You've got to stop him. Now, you don't say that if you feel like you're winning comfortably or indeed up. I think Beterbiev did win them last two rounds, although I think round 12 was obviously far more competitive. I mean, Beterbiev had a big round in round 11, there's no question about that. And I thought, Bivol's got to be careful here. But apart from that, I mean, Bivol managed to weather the storm. I didn't feel like Bivol was seriously under threat. Not like most opponents who fight Beterbiev. Keep calling Beterbiev. So, for me, I think Bivol, we all knew he was going to fight off the back foot. That wasn't a surprise. You can't go toe-to-toe with a machine like Beterbiev. Yeah, we knew that was going to happen, and just because someone's on the front foot, I think you've got to be careful saying, they're definitely winning the fight. They're not, because Beterbiev, although he was coming forward, he was landing on the arms, he was landing on the gloves, he wasn't hitting Bivol clean, whereas, Bivol saw them punches coming, he was able to deflect a lot of them, the counter, and, he hit some lovely flurries, and and I also don't like this comment, look at Bivol's face. I mean, Bivol's face wasn't that bad. He had a bit of a black eye. But, I mean, it's all relative, isn't it? Someone can get hit once and have a huge black eye, and they can hit someone else 10 times and they can not have anything. It's about the skin type. It's about how durable your skin is. It doesn't mean you're winning that fight. Not always, So that really sort of frustrates me when I hear them comments. For me, I think Bivol started off beautifully. We all know Beterbiev is a slow starter. He was struggling to get the timing, the distance, and then I think Bivol commanded the middle rounds as well. I mean, Beterbiev started to land a few more, but what impressed me with Bivol, he was also able not to just dance around the ring and back off. He was able to stand his ground at times. He picked and chose his moments. Now, Beterbiev was trying to fight, obviously, the last 30 seconds of each round, come on really strong, and I know he's got a big following out in Riyadh, and you have to wonder if that swayed things as well. Anywhere else in the world, I don't think he wins that fight, if I'm being honest with you. But for me, he won the last two rounds, but it wasn't enough still. And I think that round 12 was competitive. It could have gone either way, quite frankly. I gave that to Beterbiev because he seemed to land a few more, and he started to get his distance and timing against Bivol. There's no question about that late on, but I think it was too little too late. So I'd love to see the rematch. I think it will be a fantastic fight. Maybe Beterbiev gets his distance early on. If he does, he could well stop Bivol. There's no realms of possibility of that. Whereas I think Bivol will have to. I don't fancy him so much in a rematch. I think Beterbiev will know what's coming this time, and I don't think he's got the power to really hurt Beterbiev. But then again, I might be wrong. I think Bivol might put on a masterclass. But the problem is Bivol's style is always going to be reliant on the judges. He hasn't got the power to switch your lights out, unlike Beterbiev. So, unfortunately, I fancy Beterbiev in the rematch. And I say unfortunately because I don't think he deserved to win this fight. But he's the undisputed, but the rematch has to happen. For me, there's no other option, I don't think Boazzi or Yard or any of them guys are in that level right now. I'd like to see Yard and Boazzi fight each other, quite frankly, rather than challenge these guys. The rematch has to happen. That's the only fight, and I think the public will demand that. I want to touch base also on the undercard. Fabio Waldy is a problem. I mean, he's spiteful, nasty, carries power. I didn't realise how much power he carried until really the first fight against Fraser Clark. Now, Fraser Clark, admittedly, isn't the best heavyweight in the world. He's a big lump, but can be caught quite slow and cumbersome, but he's no joke. Olympic silver medalist, carries power, 6'6", good IQ. I mean, he got sparked. I mean, that was ferocious. And I think Fabio Wardley's getting better. He's at his peak age now, 29. He's got that confidence, he's got that spite, he wants to do damage. And I was hugely impressed with him. He can get caught though. I mean, even before Clark got switched out, he landed with Wardley on a big uppercut, and he had Wardley in all kinds of trouble in their first fight. But I just think Wardley's made adjustments, he's got better, he's learned from that first fight, and I think he's ready. I think he's ready to challenge the elite of the heavyweight division. I'm not saying he beats Usyk. Anyone else, I think he's going to have a huge problem with. I mean, Fury's kind of on the slide. I don't think he beats Fury right now, but I think for me, Fury needs one big effort against Usyk and retire. Really, I think Fury is on the slide. I think I make Usyk favourite in that rematch now. I think he could beat Joshua now. I think he beats Wilder. I think these guys are on their way down. They can't take a shot. And Wardley, not only can he deliver a knockout punch, but he throws punches from all kinds of angles. You don't know where he's coming from. He's so slippery and elusive, and he can go from 0 to 100 so quickly. Like, in that first round, you think, he's fighting his time. Is he finding Clark out, sort of jabbing, and then suddenly, bang, explosive, huge overhand right, and that's it, lights out. And I see him doing the same to Joshua. I see him doing the same to Wilder, who's gun shy now. I mean, he's been ruined, doesn't he, by Malik Scott. I mean, Wilder is not the fighter he used to be at all. So, I'm not sure if he beats Piccoli. I mean, he's a real problem. Piccoli's hungry and powerful, but, he beats a lot of them. I mean, he really does. As to Fraser Clark, I mean, that was a vicious knockout. He's 33, come up to 34. You have to wonder, don't you? He's going to have to go in a pecking order now, back to sort of British level, really, that or in between European, because that was the British title. So he has to stay there, doesn't he? He can't really go any higher. And, people are going to be gunning for him now. They're going to be trying to hit him with that overhand right hard, like Wardley did. So I'm not saying he should retire, but I wouldn't blame him if he did. I mean, broken jaw, that was nasty, sort of hole in the side of his head, wasn't it? I mean, orbital bone, he had major surgery in that. He's going to be out. I'd like to see him out for at least 10 months. You know what I mean? That needs recovery time. That is going to be painful. When you wonder the mental blows now, when you get knocked out like that, you suddenly lose your confidence. So he's going to have to rebuild a lot. 2 years of rebuilding. He's just about got time, but at 33, nearly 34, he hasn't got a lot of time. So it's a hard one. And, he's going to have to take some low paydays now. Unless he obviously managed to get back on the Riyadh season. But they want him after a first round KO. So a lot of rebuilding for Clark. A lot of big decisions coming up. But Wardley, wow, get him in there. Get him in. I'm not saying he deserves a world title shot right now, but get him in that top 10. And I reckon if he carries on in the next year or two, he'll be right up there for a world title shot. Very exciting fighter. Next up, we had Eubank. Now I'm going to touch on Ben Whittaker and the whole circus surrounding him in another podcast because we haven't got time, quite frankly, but I have got a lot to say about that guy. Don't worry about that. But Eubank, I was very impressed with. I mean, listen, we know he's kind of fighting almost like a glorified journeyman in there, but I mean, he bossed him, he dominated him, he's throwing punches and flurries. I was very impressed. I mean, all these Eubank haters, I thought he looked very good. I mean, he looked terrible, didn't he, in that Liam Smith first fight? And I'm not saying this guy was on Liam Smith's level, but I mean, he bossed him. I mean, at the end of the day, he's top 10 in what was it, the WBA, and Eubank just dominated him, played with him really. Could have got him out there a bit earlier, but what was impressive for me is Eubank seems to have gone back to throwing in punches and being aggressive, not like the Roy Jones. Let's be honest, Roy Jones ruined Eubank, ruined him. I mean, Roy Jones is a great pundit and a fan, all-time Hall of Fame boxer, but a terrible trainer because you can't make people fight like you. It's just impossible. No one fought like Roy Jones Jr. No one will. He relied on cat-like reflexes, and let's be honest, as he got older, he got knocked out because of that. Because that's not a longevity; it's a young man's game. Them fast twitch reflexes that he had, which was special. But Eubank's not that. You know, he's not a one punch and then move and move your head showboat. He's more like a brawler. He physically beats you up with flurries and punches. So that was great to see. And I think on that performance, he beats Ben. I mean, I think Ben's got to be very careful what he wishes for, because he's been out the ring a long time. In the day, he failed a drugs test, and since he's come back from that drugs test, shoot the messenger of saying this, he doesn't look like he's carrying that same power. He doesn't look like he's carrying that same threat. And without that, you're banging trouble. I mean, if he can't stop his last two opponents, he's not going to be stopping Eubank, is he? I mean, quite frankly, I think Eubank on that performance will wear Ben out, as long as it's made within the next 6 months. Because obviously, you know, Eubank is getting on now, 35, but it's made in the next 6 months. I think he'll take Ben to deep waters and drag him out and stop him. I think he'll gas Ben a bit, ironically, a bit like his dad did to Nigel Benn. You know, I think that could play out. I'm saying it could be uncomfortable for early on. Of course, Ben's going to come in there like a steam train, like an angry young man. But I think the emotion will get to him. I think he'll burn up a lot of energy. When he realises he can't quite land on Ben, on Eubank, or hurt him just as much as he thinks he can, then I think Eubank's going to take over. And I think he'll start mauling Ben, and I think he'll stop him. I think Ben will go. So be careful what you wish for, young man. Getting in that ring, you know, fronting up to Eubank, that's all well and good, but can you back it up? You know, he seems confident, but is he overconfident? And you know, before the whole drug scandal, I was a Conor Benn fan. I mean, the way he knocked out our jury was awesome, and I thought this guy is the most improved fighter on the world scene. I couldn't believe how devastating he was. But then the whole drug scandals come on. I'm sorry, I have my major doubts now. And since then, the proof's in the pudding. He hasn't had that ferocity, that power, and he's stopped guys that you can't stop guys that are nowhere near on Eubank's level. So what's he going to do against Eubank? I have to favour Eubank. I think Eubank will be the bigger man. He'll make, obviously, Ben come up as well to middleweight, which is a big jump up. You don't just jump up 2 weight divisions and think it's an easy task. So my money's on Eubank. Be careful what you want for. I think it's going to happen next as well. I think His Excellency is going to make that happen. I think there's a big demand for it. I'd like it to happen in the UK. I think the atmosphere, that's the only problem, isn't it, with Riyadh? They're making the fights, but the atmosphere is so dry. And, it's getting a little bit better, but it's nowhere near the UK, is it? That has to be a UK fight. I think Warren and Hearn have to put their foot down to make that in the UK. It'll be an epic atmosphere, an epic fight. But one, I think Eubank's going to win. Be careful what you wish for, Conor Benn, because it might turn into a nightmare for you. All right, guys, I'm out. I'll review Whittaker next time and the big fights coming up. Cheers. Catch you soon.